मेरे बच्ची को भी ले लो, start coaching her. So I think it all started with Saina Nehwal. You know, she started beating the Chinese, and she was, I think, the first person who really beat the Chinese players and enter at a very high stage in the world of badminton for India. Though North is also good and it's coming up, but when you see the South area of India, they have a really big badminton population compared to North. And I'm quite proud to say that in Birdie we have 8-year-olds, 11-year-olds who wake up 4 a.m. in the morning, attend early morning sessions at 5 a.m., come in the evening after school. They are playing state, they are playing nationals, though they are not number one.
How many academies would be there in India versus, let's say, you spoke about when we were at backstage, you spoke about Spain or Dutch or for that matter Chinese having a very, very strong infrastructure. So is there a comparison which you can think, which you would have that, I mean, there are these many academies in more advanced countries than versus where we are today in badminton?
So that's how advanced they are in terms of thinking about their future in the game. And I think that's where India is lacking.
But we have started seeing slight bit of change. But what can government do to reach to those levels of those Chinese?
And there are not many coaching academies who give players freedom to do what they want to do. Parent support is one of the most important things. I have seen players who have a very good game, but unfortunately their parents are not having that vision to help them grow further into the sport. If the dad believes that the kid is really good, and the first thing which I would see in the kid is, does he have belief?
Almost 5 years now, and today combined, I think in India, any badminton related content wise, you guys have the highest number of following.
I believe YouTube has one of the best financial support for creators.
Achha.
We in fact launched our first long format video.
So we have Sameer today with us. Thanks, Sameer, for taking out time. He's a founder of Birdie. I'll let you describe what Birdie does, and he's also a content creator. So thanks a lot, Sameer, for taking out time. So Sameer, over to you. If you could give us a quick glimpse of what Birdie does, and then maybe we can take it from there.
Definitely, Naveen. So Birdie is a place where people come in, they get educated about the sport of badminton. Of course, we have coaching centers primarily in Bellandur and Sarjapur in Bangalore as of now. Though many people have asked us to come to many states, but we are stuck on because still we are growing this part of Bangalore and growing further. So the primary vision of Birdie is to change the way we are coaching, bringing in replacing the orthodox method with more innovative and creative ways of coaching people for badminton. And so Birdie is basically a platform where people get educated on the court and also online.
Okay.
Via YouTube and Instagram, because combining both YouTube and Instagram, we have a community of more than 5 lakh people across India and over the world. So that's what Birdie is primarily about.
Okay, superb. So you have so I believe that you have also played badminton to a certain professional level also, right? And I think you are 24 years old. So what made you not choose that path of playing itself and representing India and then going further, and instead of that you chose to start you don't like to call it a coaching academy, but you started just to start Birdie. What made you do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's a very interesting story behind this. So my dad used to coach me, though I've been to many academies when I used to play for state and nationals, but when I hit 9th grade, it was my dad who took over and he started coaching me in the apartment in HSR layout. It was called Shobha Daffodils. So when he started coaching me, because we used to discuss a lot and I could also implement my ideas in coaching, because of that I reached 6th in the state in Karnataka.
Nice.
And when I was in 11th grade, I was still playing, and so now it had almost been like 2 years since dad has started coaching me. And seeing that, his friends started asking, mere bachchi ko bhi le lo, start coaching her. So we started with one girl. Her name is Muskan Bhargav. And, we started coaching her in Shobha Daffodils in HSR. So initially, of course, it was not about the money. It was a lot of passion which was there. And Dad was very passionate about it. So I followed his footsteps in the beginning. And when I was in 11th, that's when I started coaching. So Birdie started in 2016.
Wow.
So 7 years now since I've been coaching along with Dad. And of course, then later on in 2017, Rakshak joined in. Then Murugan joined in. And then over the years, now we have a team of 8-9 coaches whom I'm managing. And yeah.
But why not that sportsman career? I mean, why give that up and do something here?
Yeah. So I was just coming to that. That was, I think, your second
part,
right, as to why I didn't pursue badminton completely. So what happened was that I knew for a fact that, if I was not top 5 in nationals, it would be very hard for me to, really go out and pursue badminton full time. If I was even in top 15 nationals, I would have continued playing badminton and training properly. But I just had that vision that nahi, ye nahi chalega. And coaching gave me real happiness. It was like, wo bolte hai altruism. So whenever I used to coach someone, it used to give me genuine happiness. It was like as if I was giving back to community. And it just made me very, very happy. Even more happy than me winning a match, to be honest.
Wow. Okay.
And that I understood at a very early age, and I just made a decision that I'm going to stop training. Though I still trained a little bit and played tournaments here and there, but I knew that coaching was my calling, and I just had to go for it.
Super.
Yeah.
So, what I've seen is that in the last maybe 5, 7 or 10 years, badminton has started coming into the map of overall sports, which is where India is, has done well, so to say. So, and India, generally when you relate sports with India, people usually relate it to cricket, right?
Yeah.
And and any kid generally also aspirationally want to become a cricketer. And so according to you, what is it India is doing now differently, which is making this whole pipeline or bench of good badminton players who are now coming to the fore and doing well at the national level?
Yeah. So I think it all started with Saina Nehwal.
Yeah.
She started beating the Chinese, and she was, I think, the first person to really beat the Chinese players and enter at a very high stage in the world of badminton for India. Seeing that, there were so many kids who wanted to be the next Saina. But it doesn't only take one person to change that.
Correct.
Like, for example, if you take cricket, there was Rahul Dravid, there was Sachin Tendulkar, there was Harbhajan Singh. There were so many great players who kids could relate to. But in badminton, there was only Saina. But the real change came again when PV Sindhu started to perform well, when she took an Olympic medal. Then it was Kidambi Shrikant who became world number 1 in 2017 back then. Then it was HS Pranay now. Now it is Lakshya Sen, there's Satvik and Chirag. And I think because of, when the Saina wave started and people started to recognize badminton, the money started coming in. The Indian government started to notice badminton as a very profitable sport. And that's when they started really putting their minds and heart and investment into badminton. And that's when it started to, really grow. And especially, I would say in South, right? If you take states like Andhra, take states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they have a very rich badminton culture. Though North is also good and it's coming up, but when you see the South area of India, they have a really big badminton population compared to North.
Why is it so? Because if you look at, so for example, I moved from Mumbai.
Yeah.
And Mumbai, you see a lot of cricket culture is very, very strong, right?
Yeah.
And you see that at Ranji level and other levels also. So why is it that, and when I moved to Bangalore, I used to play cricket there regularly. Now I play badminton regularly. So what is it about South which makes this culture so rich and strong?
I think if you compare Mumbai first, it's the space.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There, the space is so small. Still, people manage to bowl, and
Yeah.
But badminton requires a little bit of more space. It requires, even if you were to play outdoors, it requires a little bit of more openness. Requires that open space around to put in the net and so on. And I think what the difference is that in South there are like a lot of open badminton courts. Like you go in any area, any locality, you will find badminton courts everywhere. So, and I don't know, it's just that now Prakash Padukone was from Karnataka, right? Vimal Kumar, Gopi Chand. So all of the top players have always been from the South. So that is where that, it comes from.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So, according to you, as far as the India infrastructure is concerned, how equipped it is to keep producing better players? Because I believe that if you look at China, I mean, what I've heard is that at international levels or Olympics, Chinese keep winning so many medals, right? Out here, now India has become obviously better than earlier, but it still has a very, very long way to go from an athletic sports standpoint. Now, so if you have to think about or talk about the infrastructure to support players or promote players, or for that matter, make as many people become role models for aspiring, badminton players. So, according to you, how is that infrastructure, both in terms of quality and quantity?
Very good question again. So what's lacking, especially in India, is that people are not focusing on the grassroots levels. If you look at China, they have a very good grassroots base. There are people thinking about young players and helping them build a pathway for them. And that's something which I forgot to mention while I was introducing Birdie, is that we at Birdie really focus on the younger generation. And it's not about making champions, but first it's about inculcating sports within them, making them enjoy the game of badminton first. Because I think that's somewhere a lot of people are not able to do. Like, they're not able to make the kid fall in love with the game. For example, you take football, there are many coaches, players, people just fall in love with the game. But in badminton, you require someone passionate enough to really make people fall in love. So we take a lot of focus and pride in coaching these younger generations. And I'm quite proud to say that in Birdie, we have, 8-year-olds, 11-year-olds who wake up 4 a.m. in the morning, attend early morning sessions at 5 a.m., come in the evening after school. They are playing state, they are playing nationals. Though they are not number one, they are giving their 100% effort. And we have built a pathway for them to do that.
Okay.
And even later on, if they want to go to another academy and even enrich their game further and play with better players, we are completely allow them to do so.
Super. So so you spoke about the fact that you and I'm aware that you have two kind of batches. One is, and your batches have people right from age to 50-year-old students as well, right?
So we start from 4.5-year-olds.
Oh.
We take kids who are 4.5-year-olds, start off with them, ensure that they are able to learn basic hitting skills, hand coordination, footwork. Not make it too monotonous for them, but make it fun and enjoyable. And that's what the coaches have been doing. So I personally really interact a lot with the coaches. We have coach education sessions within Birdie bi-weekly. So, where we discuss how can we make the sport more engaging? How can we make it more fun for them? How can we do this footwork exercise in a fun way? And, that's where India is currently lacking in. Everyone is only focused on the top level players, top level athletes. No one is taking that time and effort to focus on the younger generation. And they are the future. If you don't focus on them, you're not going to have many people in the future to really go out there and play badminton full throttle.
So you mean to say that, so for kids, to groom kids, is there no infrastructure which makes people groom themselves right from childhood? Because I believe that, I've seen this in cricket, because in cricket they start very, very early.
Yeah.
And that's why they represent under 19 or
True.
under 15, under 17.
True.
You think that there is no such infrastructure, formal infrastructure, which is grooming these young kids to reach to those levels?
Yeah, I think more than infrastructure, it's that coaches, and especially top level coaches, are not putting their effort and focus on the beginner batch.
Okay.
You take any beginner batch, that is left to, the other coaches who are just, doing it in a monotonous way, making them play. There's no one coming in and giving them corrections. There's no one coming in and telling them this is how you should do it. So that's like kind of, what chal raha hai, beginner batch chal raha hai.
Oh.
Advanced kids pe focus karte hain. Wohi grow honge. So, that's the mentality.
Achha.
So for me, if I see someone doing well in state and nationals, that's good. Because I know that they will reach a stage when they hit 10th grade that they're going to stop.
Oh.
Now I look at the other person who can replace them and create more such replicas.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. And I believe that, so how many such academies would be there? Is there some stat which supports this? How many academies would be there in India versus, let's say, you spoke about when we were backstage, you spoke about Spain or Dutch, or for that matter, Chinese, having a very, very strong infrastructure.
Yeah.
So is there a comparison which you can think, which you would have that, there are these many academies in more advanced countries than versus where we are today in badminton?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you look at Denmark, they have one of the richest badminton cultures out there. They have a really good club culture. So there are a lot of kids coming in at a young age, and their pathway is so good. They have like textbooks for them. They have like, proper merchandise for them. They have a unique game in Denmark just for kids.
Oh.
Low net.
Wow.
No high serve allowed.
Okay.
Only low serve.
Okay.
And they have modified and a smaller court.
Superb.
So that helps them to, move around, gives them that confidence, I'm able to cover the court. So that's how advanced they are in terms of thinking about their future in the game. And I think that's where India is lacking. And another thing, I think you asked that, why is it like, how can people start getting into that badminton culture more than cricket? I think it's also to do regarding the content. I think if you look at cricket, if you look at football, you look at all the top sports, they have so much content out there, both in terms of education and both in terms of their viewership. But badminton, if you look at the content part, it's still very less. If you look at the viewership, it's still very less. So if you have clubs where they show football, they show in cricket matches, but there is no such club which shows a badminton game.
Yeah.
And that's where, content comes in, and you want to really educate people and so on.
What can government do to, increase India's representation, or for that matter, although it is on the rise already, but I think we have to move to that next level. You spoke about Denmark having such a rich culture, and so sometimes what happens is that it's a chicken and egg situation. Unless until the sports starts gaining that kind of attention in terms of sponsorships or money, government would not want to invest a little more. I saw a glimpse of this in Chak De India, for example, where women cricket was not considered to be anywhere close to what women hockey was not considered to be anywhere close to what men's hockey, or for that matter, cricket. Everything starts getting compared to cricket and the kind of commercials it brings. But we have started seeing slight bit of change. But what can government do to reach to those levels of those Chinese or Denmark or Spain level athletes?
Yeah. So one thing which the government has done really well right now is they have opened India's first center of excellence in Govt, in Assam.
Wow.
And that's the first one in India. Like there has never been a center of excellence, and it's completely supported by the government. There is no Gopi Chand involved, there is no Prakash Padukone involved, none of the academies are involved. It's just Badminton Association of India who has this infrastructure. Now, if you look at Malaysia, you look at Denmark, they all had this 15-20 years back.
Oh, okay.
You look at Malaysia, they have BAM, which is Badminton Association of Malaysia. You look at Denmark, they have their own national center. India never had it.
Oh.
So, but now it's starting to come up. But again, when it comes to grassroots kids, what the government can really do is that they can really help in promoting the sport. They take help of, people who are really engaging with the grassroots kids, take them to small villages, teach them, give them free rackets.
Yeah.
Just introduce them to the game of badminton.
Sure.
And I think once that starts happening, automatically people will start getting curious. What's this game? What's the sport?
Understood. Got it. So, so Sameer, you teach, so as I was saying that you teach individuals of different age and wide variety of age. So how easy or difficult is it to teach a kid versus an elderly person? I've been your student as well, but I generally have this perception that students pick up, the young guns pick up faster compared to somebody who has reached, a certain age. Yeah. So what has been your experience as far as coaching individuals is concerned?
Right. So, and you mean you want me to like kind of give you a feedback on how it is to coach kids versus adults times?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when it comes to kids, it's like you want to first really make them fall in love again. You want to teach them the grip in a very fun way, like in a shake hand way, helping them to juggle the shuttle, making them move around. So, but again, with kids, it's more of action and doing and, just making them do a lot of things. You don't need to impart a lot of knowledge as of now to the younger ones. You just have to make them, move around, enjoy, and making them go further. With adults, what happens is that I think the theory part is very crucial. I think very few coaches and even coaching academies fail to give that theoretical lesson as to how should you progress, what should be the technique, what should be the grip, why is it that you lunge with the right leg in badminton, why is it that you keep your left hand back when you're lunging in the front, why do you do a scissor jump. And when you teach this theory to adults, right, since you have already gone through childhood and all of that, you understand it in a much more better way. You really start appreciating the sport. Whereas if you just say, oh, left hand piche karo, right leg se hi lunge karna hai, I think the why part for adults becomes very crucial.
Okay.
So,
but I've seen it. So, for example, I have a 7-year-old niece who is also learning badminton from you guys.
Naira.
So, Naira. So, so for example, when I found out a lot of flaws in my technique while I was playing badminton, and I've been playing badminton on and off, or in a very weird way, not at a professional level, but there was a certain style at which we played. But now, after I started taking coaching, I realized that यार कितनी सारी गलतियां हम करते हैं, right from footwork to grip itself. A simple thing like forehand का grip क्या होना चाहिए to backhand का grip.
Exactly.
So at home while I was playing with her, what I realized is that the moment she moved to backhand, she automatically moved her thumb, right?
Yeah.
So then I realized that यार मतलब मैं coaching ले रहा हूँ और coaching में भी I take coaching and then उसके बाद in my society I play very regularly as well.
Yeah.
I still find it difficult to change my grip the moment in a game situation I have to apply something.
Yeah.
So it becomes extremely difficult for us. Whereas if I look at, so I keep looking at Naira as my reference point. So when she is moving back, we will start running. While as there's a certain technique in which you can cover the court, she uses those techniques even. So I feel that kids learn and adapt much faster because there is far lesser baggage which they have versus what we carry, right?
I'll tell you a very interesting story. As we, grow older, we say that, yeah, time kitna jaldi ja raha hai, right? And I think the reason for that is like if you're, let's say, moving in a train, and if you, miss out on a few, sceneries, it just keeps going. But for kids, the train travels much slower compared to us because of their observation skills.
Oh.
So, they have really great observation skills and they grasp things so quickly. And that's why in Birdie, we encourage coaches to show demonstrations a lot so that they get a visual cue, this is how I should do it. And there are many different types of learners at a young age. People learn visually, they learn by hearing, they learn by touch and feel. So there are many different kinds of learners, but everyone has that visual learning skill. And for kids, it's massive. That is why you see them learn it very, very quickly. They grasp things very quick. They call it the, monkey.
Yeah.
Very good at copying.
Yeah.
So even when we teach footwork, we ensure that kids are mirroring us. So I literally hold the racket with my left hand and show the footwork to them. Because if they're looking at themselves in the mirror, it's the left-handed version of them.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
So are there any stories which you can talk to us, because you would have coached so many students?
Yeah.
So which is the most outstanding student who you think you can think of who transformed during while you started coaching them versus what they are today?
Yeah. So I remember very particularly there's this small girl called Swara who comes for coaching. And she started 1.5 years back, and her father was very particular. I want her to play, and please, so I took that time to coach her and started teaching her the entire basics of badminton. And since I've been coaching for a long time now, I've come to a stage where I know exactly what to start off with. Not only me, but also the coaches know how to start off with, what to go on, what progressions to make. And amazingly, right now she's like playing really well. She in fact participated in a Birdie tournament where she came semi-finalist. She's just 7 years old.
Oh wow!
So that's one of a very interesting story for a young girl.
Sure.
But another one which comes on the top of my mind is about a player which I was also telling you back then. Her name is Medha. So she used to in fact play, state and nationals, and she had gone to many other coaching academies, and she in fact wanted help regarding her game. And there are not many coaching academies who give players freedom to do what they want to do. To, allow players to, work on their skills. Let's say if a player wants to work on smashing, but if the focus is on defense, they will end up doing defense still. So what we started doing was that we started having a lot of athlete-centered coaching sessions, one-on-one type. And we did it for a period of 7 to 8 months. And in that process, I helped her a lot about her own personal mastery, about her becoming her own best coach. And in those sessions, she used to plan the drills and I used to take in charge of the warm-up. And we in fact talked so much about the game. She understood her games in and out. And because of that, when she played the Karnataka State Championships in 2022, if I'm not wrong, she won the entire tournament.
Oh, wow. Super.
So, that's another story.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
So, so I have known and heard about your life story as well. So how much commitment is required? Because you started playing badminton at what age?
I in fact started very late. I started when I was 12, 13.
Okay, 12.
Yeah.
Even at 12, 13, I believe that the kind of commitment your dad showed in terms of taking you to the academy, making you learn, or for that matter, teaching you himself. So if in case a kid, or for that matter, parents have to understand that, okay, if I have to start grooming my child for any sports, for them to represent India someday, I mean, what kind of preparation, or for that matter, what kind of commitment does it take? Because most of the time we see the end product, right?
Yeah.
But very few of us have seen the kind of grind which has gone in it. And I'm sure you would have met people who would have represented India at certain levels, and would have heard their stories as well.
Yeah.
So according to you, what kind of mindset change a parent or even a child needs to bring about for them to prepare themselves to those levels?
Yeah, very good question again. For parents, the parent support is one of the most important thing. I have seen players who have a very good game, but unfortunately, their parents are not having that vision to help them grow further into the sport. So luckily for me, I had great parents. Both mom especially took me all around India, helped me, play all the tournaments. Dad supported me in coaching. Also, he of course traveled a few times, but he had office in between, so sometimes he couldn't make it. But I think I was lucky enough to have such parents to really help me to believe in the power of consistency. And I think all parents should have that vision of being consistent. They should believe in compounding. If they don't believe in compounding, then you can't see results within 2-3 months, especially for a skill game like badminton. It takes years. You need to have a 10-year journey in mind. So that's the kind of vision which a parent should have, and commitment also. You want to ensure that the kid is not missing too many classes. Even if they have exam, they want to try to still manage their studies and also attend the coaching session. But as you attend coaching sessions day by day, you keep doing it. The beauty is that you never know when you might reach that tipping point. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Tipping Point. In fact, I'm reading it right now, and it's brilliant how small changes make a big effort. And in Birdie, we have always believed in compounding. And we tell every kid, every parent, that you have to have patience. The first year, they might not even learn that much. But suddenly you might never know, third year, fourth year, they suddenly start, having that graph go up. So a lot of parents feel that, child ka progress hi nahi dikh raha. How can I have trust? But you just gotta, like, same with money, you keep it just compounds. You never know when you reach that tipping point. And we followed the same thing even in content. Like when we started in 2019 on Instagram, I just did it to educate people about the sport of badminton. It took around 2 to 3 years to reach 10K followers. And then after that, suddenly we reached 100K in like 2-3 months. So, you never know when you might get that breakthrough. In fact, do you know Tanmay Bhatt? Yeah. So he talks about something called asymmetric returns. So content creation is like having asymmetric returns. So is dating. If you go on like 10 dates, you might find that one person who is right for you, and you go ahead. Similarly with content, and even badminton content, and even learning badminton and growing it further, it's like asymmetric return. It's like 80-20 principle, and you never know when that one breakthrough comes in, or that one viral video hits, and when you might really achieve that.
Sure. So so there are a lot of players who, so for example, I think I will focus more around the youngsters, because that is where the seed for any revolution which needs to be brought about. So when I'm thinking about excelling myself in a certain sports, so for example, we were referring to a video from Neeraj Chopra, which we were speaking in the background. So he spoke about the fact that when you reach at Olympic level, it's more mental than the skill game, which takes you to the, which is a difference between whether you come first or second, right? So when if I have to represent India, or if I have to represent, in this particular sport or any sport, what kind of mental strengthening, which you need to go through, or how should you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah. So mental conditioning is another aspect which goes underlooked in a lot of, academies. very few academies focusing on mental conditioning. So, you know, as you said, as you reach, as even Neeraj Chopra said, as you reach the highest level, all the skills are the same. What differentiates you is, you know, how you prepare yourself mentally. And what I learned after doing my sports graduation from Deakin in Australia is that there's something called the learning cycle. The learning cycle is you start playing the game, then you start reviewing the game, you analyze, and you practice. So there are two aspects to this learning cycle. There is a doing aspect and there's a thinking aspect. 80% of the players, or even I'll go on to say 90% of the players in India are only doing things. What I mean by doing is that they are only practicing and they are playing. But the coach is not involving them in reviewing the game, in analyzing their match via video. And I feel if players are not thinking, they don't become thinking athletes. After a point, they get confused. They always rely on the coach.
Yeah.
You look at all the great players in the world. You look at Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, Djokovic, Federer, even in badminton, Virat Kohli. Even in badminton, you take Lee Chong-wei, Lin Dan. They know their game in and out. You know, they don't need a coach to tell them that, you know, this is... So that's where the learning cycle is being broken at the beginning stage in India. In Denmark, you will see players at 10, 11-year-olds watching their match, writing down 3 good things, 3 not so good things.
Wow.
So that's how advanced they are. And in India, we don't believe in documentation. Whenever we play a match, we video record nahi karte.
Yeah.
Now it has started. In fact, many people are starting to record and now it's changing. But I think players need to really put in their mind in the learning cycle, into reviewing and analyzing, because that's how they will learn from mistakes. And that's another thing. In India, we reprimand players, we scold players when they make a mistake. We don't teach them to find future solutions.
Yeah.
You know, any coach, "Ab kyun galti kar rahe ho? You know, why are you making that mistake?" But I think mistakes are a part. If you don't make mistakes, you will not learn. Whereas you should ask the player to find what can you do better in the future.
Yeah.
And I think fear of failure is one of the biggest mental blocks which is stopping athletes from performing at the highest level. And that fear of failure comes because coaches are reprimanding for players making mistakes.
Wow. Yeah.
And that culture has to really change.
I think even the education system does that, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So what have you learned? So if in case you didn't have a sport in your life, right? How would you imagine yourself to be? I mean, how has sports taught you as a person? I mean, what has sports taught you as a person?
Yeah, I think one thing which has really taught me is confidence. You know, going out there, not being afraid. You know, not being afraid to be even disliked. You know, I'm open to saying whatever I like to say. So I think sport teaches you a lot of confidence. It teaches you to, you know, have that diligence and discipline in your life. So even when I used to train, I used to wake up early in the morning. I still do now for the kids, which is so good to see. And it's so good to see them waking up.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the biggest thing which badminton has really helped me is even in like work, in college, and in really helping me to separate out from the crowd. So I wouldn't imagine myself sitting all day in front of a laptop and working. I like to do different things. So
you think education institutes like schools, colleges, you think sports as a curriculum itself is sufficiently taught, or I mean there is a scope to improve over there as well?
Yeah, I still don't think it's being taught at a very high extent.
Okay.
I think though, like when I was in DPS East, they had a sports curriculum in 11th grade.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's like, you know.
Yeah.
But I think in foreign schools, they teach players how to sprint, the technique, eye-hand coordination skills. I think that's still lacking, I would say.
Okay.
Even like हमारा hobby period रहता था. उसमें, you know, So they consider sport as a hobby.
Yeah,
you know, that's the difference.
Yeah.
They don't take sports seriously.
Yeah. So if in case you were to, so let's say if in case you were appointed to build a sports curriculum for a school or a college.
Yeah.
I would say school only because college तो मतलब 11th में introduce करके करोगे ही क्या?
Yeah.
So if you have to build a curriculum for a school, when would you introduce it and what kind of curriculum should be taught? In schools.
Wow, that's a very long vision question, but
because I believe that it builds you as a person also, right? I mean, you get used to accepting failures. True. I mean, you don't look at it as failure. As you said that the coaches have instilled that fear of failure. True. Now, the moment if I've started seeing it since I was 4 or 5, and if I've started conditioning myself in a way that, okay, I need to be a good, whether I represent India or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But if there is a strong sports curriculum, you were right. I mean, एक PT period होता था हम लोग के समय, और फिर उसके बाद एक games period होता था.
अभी भी वही है.
हाँ. Out of 8 hours of education, भैया मतलब तुम इस समय जो करना है कर लो. कोई तुमको monitor नहीं करेगा तुम क्या कर रहे हो क्या नहीं कर रहे हो. So what kind of curriculum you think both theoretical and practical needs to be brought in?
Yeah, I think in terms of practical, I would like to start that first. I think we can start off with a lot of eye-hand coordination skill which has been taught there. A lot of kids, they struggle in simple catching and throwing. You know, हम बचपन में high catches खेलते थे. But now kids don't do that. Yeah. You know, because of social media, padhai, they don't go out there and do these simple skills which we used to do. Yeah. So I think eye-hand coordination is one major skill which can be included in the curriculum. Another skill which can be included is how to run. Yeah. Indians fear running. Yeah. You know, they're like, "Arey, bhagna mujhe nahi bhagna hai." But I think how to run, how to develop that technique of running, how to do simple, body weight exercises, how to do a squat. Also another myth which is there with a lot of people is that if you do strength training from a young age, it's going to hinder your growth. Bilkul false hai. You see all the foreign countries, they do strength training since 3-4. Yeah. And they grow up to be really strong and fit. Yeah. So that's another thing, teaching kids how to do simple exercises, cardio exercises, simple squats. When it comes to the theory aspect, I think kids have to learn about the learning cycle. They got to know how do you start learning anything. In fact, वो learning cycle हम बचपन से instilled है. How we learn to walk. We saw our parents walking, or we saw people around us walking. We kept trying. If a kid, falls down while walking, a parent doesn't reprimand the kid. Yeah. They tell them that, "Arey aap utho, try again." Yeah. But later on, as they grow up, that doesn't come in. Yeah. So kids are still kids. Yeah. And that learning cycle has to keep going on throughout. So kids need to know what the learning cycle is. How should they review? That will even help them in their academics. Sure. So, yeah.
So Sameer, when you started Birdies, and now that you have spent some time, coached, how many students you would have coached by now?
I think I've interacted with more than 300 plus people.
Okay, great. So what is the end state which you're chasing? As far as your vision, or for that matter, you, let's say if in case you have to call yourself that, okay, I'm satisfied with what's going on today, what should that today be?
Yeah. So, I always envision having a Birdie center of excellence, where we have our own infrastructure, where we have our whole brand of coaching. And, recently we were speaking about the curriculum part. So we already have a curriculum for young kids who are just starting off into the sport. And we are in fact even working on documenting that whole curriculum, where any coach, whenever he comes in or she comes in, they know exactly what to start off with. They have a whole, coaching course inbuilt in Birdie to, get a Birdie certified coach kind.
Wow.
So, that's what we are working on, and, it takes time. It's a long process to build a curriculum and go ahead. But yeah, that's what my end vision would be, that, we have a nice center of excellence where we have our own curriculum, we have a proper grassroots plan, we have a proper elite coaching plan, we have a mental conditioning sessions going on in the academy, we have players who have that freedom to do athlete centered coaching, create their own plans, interact with coaches, having coaches from Denmark, international coaches also coming in, having a gym, nice cafe.
Nice.
Also envisioning a cafe where, or a place which showcases badminton matches, just badminton.
Wow.
It's kind of like a restaurant,
yeah,
which is completely badminton themed.
So in Bombay, I think there was a Manchester United cafe.
True.
So something similar you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Superb. Superb. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. And I'm so glad that you have envisioned it in this manner, because if you'll speak with a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll always keep talking numbers. कि अरे यार मैं $1 billion बनना है, ये बनना है, वो बनना है.
I think the numbers automatically come in when.
Yeah.
And another thing is that we are in such a business where, I would not like to call it business, but a service where we have to balance the business aspect of it and the passionate aspect of it. So we every month we can't keep looking at the revenue part, and though we do, of course, I involve myself a lot with the financials and all of that. But it's all about having that fine balance of being passionate whilst at the same time having that entrepreneurship mindset as well. Sure.
So, I mean, now you've touched upon that entrepreneurship bit, and I'm always very keen and eager to understand that. I mean, when I envision myself, when I think of myself as a 24-year-old person, I had and I have to compare. I keep comparing myself how I used to think when I was your age. I feel that there is a lot of wisdom which has, which I can see while I am interacting with you at different forums, and I always feel that there is so much which I need to learn from this. So, and I've also seen that you have taken a very bold call. You have studied. You are an engineer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have studied engineering.
Yeah.
You had a very stable, good job in tech, which also have a very lucrative future in India or globally, and you gave all that up to build Birdies from scratch, and now you're doing content creation, which I would obviously want to understand more about.
Yeah.
So what brought that courage? Is it because you came from a family where you didn't have to worry about putting food on the table? That also obviously plays a very important role.
Sure.
But beyond that, it also takes a lot of courage to, you are managing coaches, you are managing so many students. Yeah. It can drain you out.
Yeah.
So why not have a cushiony job and keep this as a hobby?
Yeah. So that's and it's a very deep question which you ask, and there's like so many angles to this. But I think the first thing was that even in college I never thought Birdie would become this big. In fact, till 4th year of college मेरा वही mindset था, college finish करूँगा, 1-2 साल job करूँगा, go to the US, finish masters, do this, do that. But and that's what they say, that before you do your master's, before you do even MBA for that matter, you need to find out whether it's working for you or not. So when I started working, the company was Move and Sync. When I started working there as an Android developer, finished my computer science and all of that, was doing an Android development job, SDE job. There were many times it was not that the job was bad, it was very good. I gained a lot of knowledge. It was a startup, gained a lot of knowledge from people, my senior, manager, teammates, so on. But there were times where the coaching was running. I wanted to go for the coaching session, but I was stuck in some bug. So I'm like, yaar, why? Why can't I just go? And pehli baar hua, I'm like, okay, theek hai. But as it kept happening, it started to build kind of like an agitation within me that, And to be honest, throughout my badminton career, I was always studying. I never got to do badminton full time.
Okay.
ऐसा stage ही नहीं था कि I would, that time I used to envision कि अरे यार it would be so nice if I was just doing badminton. And वो हमेशा रहता था at the back of my mind कि I never did it. So, one day when 2 more coaches joined the academy, I couldn't even go because I was working.
Oh.
So I couldn't even go to manage them. And my parents were really supportive about this. In fact, dad told me 6 months before I quit that why are you not, quitting, go into this, do it since you've always wanted to. Dad is always he's kind of been a mentor to me. We always have business talks. He's really taught me, I think, everything there is to business. And I think I would, credit my wisdom and all of that to him and mom, of course. But so when these things, that frustration started to build, I was like, okay, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to just go into badminton and grow Birdie. So when I told my manager about this, he was very sad. He was like, why? But so, but when I went to the CEO of the company, he was like, yeah, you should go and explore. So, that's the difference between people who have been CEOs, who have been founders, they have that vision of trying different things. And I think I'm at a stage where I can explore different avenues. Whether it works for me or not, I'm completely okay with. But I think that stage was a time for me where I could really explore. And I wanted to take that plunge because I knew that even if I was 1 year late, I would be still sucked up into that job. So if I knew that if I had to do it, it would have been it has to be in 2022, November. So that's when I quit and started growing, did a lot of content, this, that, managed coaching, open up another center, so on. So, yeah.
So let me ask you a more difficult question.
Yeah.
So let's say if a father comes to you along with his old child and he hardly has money to even afford your fees, right?
Yeah.
And he's in that dilemma that he wants, he has a son or a daughter with a very high potential. He hardly has money to pay your fees, but he would ask you one question that मेरे पास 2 ऑप्शन है, या तो इसकी फीस पे करके आपको दे दूं और फिर उसके बाद there is a possibility that he might or might not represent India at any level, versus he takes up a job and kills his or her dream to ever do anything reasonable, because that's the need of the hour. But this is what the heart says. What would your recommendation to that person?
Yeah, that is a difficult question. No, but see, you got to understand, even both the dad and the kid, they have to, see and, analyze what can happen. So I think they should give it a shot if the dad believes that the kid is really good. And the first thing which I would see in the kid is, does he have belief? And I think that's something which is very important if you want to crack it at the highest stage. You got to have belief within yourself. If I see that the player has a lot of self-doubt and a lot of, thing that I can't do it, then maybe I would say that you search for a backup plan, whilst doing badminton. But I think it really depends on how the kid is.
Okay. So now I think the area of my interest, which is the content creation. And I believe that you are a one-man army there, right? I mean, you have been creating content, putting it up there. And you, I think, touched upon it that you've been quite persistent since almost 5 years now. And today, combined, I think in India, any badminton related content wise, you guys have the highest number of following. So how did you go about it? And obviously I will have many more questions. And what has been your learning throughout?
Yeah. So let me tell you the exact motivation as to how this started. So, there's a player called Peter Gade. He's a Danish player. He used to be former world #1 All England champion back in 2001. A good friend of Gopi Chand as well. So he launched his coaching academy in Denmark. So he used to have really great content, you know, warm-up content, this content. I was like very inspired. I'm like, this is very cool, yeah. You know, I should head into, you know, Instagram. And I was never on Instagram in school. When I hit first year of college, I downloaded it. So, and after 1 year of downloading it, in 2019, I still remember it was January 7th. That's when we released our first Birdie Badminton, you know, video. And initially the plan was that we just make very interesting warm-up exercises, because I used to see warm-up being a very, you know, monotonous, you know, routine. In all the academies, players just run this. There was nothing. There was no masala in it. So, you know, I thought that, you know, let me start by putting in warm-up exercises. So that's what we started. I never used to show my face in those videos. Just kids doing like a ladder exercise, eye-hand coordination drill. So that's how it started. And we never got much engagement in the beginning, as do all the, you know.
Do you remember how many views did you get in that video?
I think first video it was what, 100 to 150 views max.
Okay.
But you know, that time I was very persistent कि नहीं मुझे वो एक तो video आएगा. I just knew it. I don't know how कि it will just shoot up. So I remember it was summer of 2019 and we were doing a footwork exercise. Suddenly I saw on Instagram, I'm getting continuous likes on the Birdie page. I'm wondering, ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? So then I saw that many people are liking the footwork aspect of it. And I think a lot of content creators, right, they fail to focus on their users, their followers. So, you know, many people ask me that, you know, how do you get content ideas? I just say that I ask my followers, आपको क्या देखना है? They give me the content ideas, I make them. And you know, that's the power key. And when you make content for them, they tell it to their friends. I see he made it for me. Go check it out. Then they start seeing. Then they start asking you. That's how the whole connection is built. So that's what we started doing initially. We started putting out a lot of videos on, you know, warm up. And one thing which we ensured in Birdie on the Instagram page was we will never put any achievements or any random, you know, post. We always stuck to video. We always stuck on making it different from the previous video and making it unique. Even now, I think we have around 450 posts. Every post is never repeated. Like every post is different from the previous one. And that's the kind of niche which we maintain throughout. And, you know, we just started gaining followers organically.
Okay.
We just reached that tipping point, I think, in 2021. When Reels started coming in, that's when we got more engagement.
Okay. How do you think, so as a content creator, you mentioned that there's a lot of, so there's no content which is repeated.
Yeah.
So how do you think of these ideas? How are you able to, because for you to ask people what they want to watch, you need to have people, right?
Yeah.
So if I have only 10 followers, what will they tell me?
Yeah.
But so who was giving you I mean, where were you getting these inspirations from? What kind of research work which is involved in here?
Yeah.
And I mean, and many a times what happens is that you also start thinking or looking at content from your point of view versus audience point of view, which can also be different, right?
True.
You mentioned, we were just talking a couple of minutes back, wherein you said that very simple videos generate a lot of views.
True.
So how do you, I mean, detach yourself as a viewer versus looking at it from audience viewpoint?
Yeah. I think the most engagement started coming in when I started putting in a lot of, you know, beginner level content out there, because I realized that a lot of the audience which is there are people who are not at the top level.
Correct.
The mass which is there is the beginner level adults and kids, especially adults. We get a lot of, you know, DMs from adults. So, you know, it's about identifying those small mistakes and making a very informative reel on that. So let's say in badminton, you have to focus on lunging on the heel. lot of people, they lunge on the toe. You know, which is, and because you lunge on the toe, you get injury. A lot of people fail to again explain the why part of that. Why you should land on the heel. Why shouldn't you land on the toe? So, you know, and this is something which I see a lot of people doing, and I see that there's no content regarding this. So put it out there. I love to do things which no one has done before.
Sure.
So I think that's something which, you know, had started creating a lot of, you know, engagement.
Sure. What is the maximum number of views you would have received on a reel or a video?
I think I still remember there's one video of this girl doing a warm-up exercise. It's a reel itself. There's something called an agility scarf. So there's an exercise where you have to smash singles में. आपको smash मारने के बाद आगे follow up करना होता है. So we were working on that, and there was, I think, a good reel also needs to have a good song. All of those small things matter. So, you know, there was a eureka moment for me, and there's a song by Charlie Puth called Light Switch. Bulb jalata hai.
Okay.
I just put in that got 25-30 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a 5-8 second reel.
And आप एक फूटी कौड़ी नहीं डालते for promoting your videos?
No.
Wow.
No advertisements, nothing, just organic.
And you create everything, editing, shooting, everything on your own?
Yeah. Wow. iPhone.
And what kind of content do you want to put out there more? Have you thought कि अच्छा ठीक है अभी short form चल रहा है मेरे ख्याल से, now that I have a certain followership, are you thinking community? I mean, because एक मैंने video देखा था, and I'm not sure if you've seen that video by Nikhil Kamath, जहाँ पे he talks about creators economy and कैसे उसको monetize किया जा रहा है. तो फिर so bringing together. So what is your vision for content creation itself?
Yeah. So recently we have entered into the membership perks access on both YouTube and Instagram. So the way it is that, you know, there are so many followers and subscribers. They keep asking me questions, but I can't answer to all of them.
Correct.
So if they want some exclusive content for them, they can subscribe to Birdie for a certain fee.
Achha.
And they can ask me a question, ki, you know, Samir, I want to see this. Can you please make a video on this? And I make it for them.
Okay.
So that's another part.
Oh, wow.
I believe YouTube has one of the best financial support for creators.
Achha.
And because there, you know, you get paid for the amount of views which you generate. Instagram is more about getting brand deals.
Yeah.
आपके even 30 million views आए, you will not get paid. But on YouTube, you do get paid for those views.
Achha.
So that's the difference.
Achha. Okay.
Which is between YouTube and Instagram.
Okay. So you want to continue coming up with these reels?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that was one part of your question, right? Ki which direction we want to head into. So recently we in fact launched our first long format video on how to start playing badminton.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
What to start off with. So in fact, there's a small girl called Gurmeher. I'm taking her in the video. And so my team comprises of all these kids. वही filming करते हैं. वही video में आते हैं. So they have their own fun. So we just released our first long video format where I teach her the basic forehand V grip, basic backhand grip, how to switch between these two grips, and the implementation part. And we are making it a series. We want to make it a full series of curriculum as to people can watch it episode after episode. कि इसके बाद क्या, with practical, you know, examples and homework exercises.
Okay. Wow. Superb. So great. It was, I mean, quite, I learned a lot in terms of during this discussion, both about you as a person, about you as a coach, and as an athlete also. So any parting thought which you might have for any aspirational kids who want to take up sports and badminton, and even those parents who need to support them? Anything?
Yeah. So one thing which I have is that, you know, for any kid and for any parent out there, again, you got to believe in the power of being consistent. You want to be able to go out there for your training every day. There will be days where